Hey, it's Mary, and I hope that you are doing well. And I hope that you are ready for some fun. If you have watched any of my previous videos, you might recognize that we are in the basement of the library. And if you remember the last time we were in the basement of the library, it was because we were doing a little messy activity. And today we are going to be doing something not really messy, but something that requires some equipment that we have down here. And I like to call this kitchen science. So in kitchen science, we use things that you find in your kitchen to explore science. And today we are going to explore two things. We're going to explore popcorn first, and then we're going to explore buoyancy. So let us start with popcorn. So we are going to make popcorn in the microwave. And if you have done this before, you may have used equipment like this, but we are not using that today. We are going to use equipment like this. So we have a paper lunch bag, we have popcorn, and of course the microwave. I use a small plastic cup to measure my popcorn. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to take one of the paper lunch bags and just open it up. So in here, I have about a quarter cup of popcorn kernels. We are going to pour them in the lunch bag. So it just looks like that. Next, we are going to take the bag, close it, and fold. Oh, I like to squeeze some of the air out. And then we'll fold it over a couple times. Now onto the microwave. So if you want up to this point, you could mix in a little bit of oil or salt with the popcorn kernels. I kind of like my popcorn plain, so I'm just going with that. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. It might take a little less, so we're going to listen for the sound of the popping. When the popping slows down, we will take the popcorn out of the microwave. We'll move in a little closer. And I cut some of the lights just to get rid of some of the glare. I'm going to pause you for a little bit and then we'll come back. It's definitely starting to smell like popcorn in here. And the popping's slowing down a little bit, so I'm going to stop it and take it out. Ooh, it really smells like popcorn now. Ah, and there's our popcorn. So you might be asking yourself how this works. I'm going to try some first because the smell is getting to me. And it's really good. I'm going to set this over here. So you might be asking yourself how this works, because generally when we think of making popcorn in the microwave, we kind of associate the popcorn being made with the oil that we use. So let's talk about popcorn. Popcorn is a type of corn, And the kernels consist of a very hard, non-porous outer shell. That's called the pericarp. The inside is the seed for a new corn plant. There's also water, and then there are soft starch granules. And they serve as a food source for the seed when the plant is growing, or when the seed is sprouting. So when you heat the popcorn kernels in the microwave, or anywhere actually, the water that's trapped inside the kernel turns into steam. And because the kernel shell is mostly non-porous, there's no way for that steam to escape. So it keeps building up and building up pressure. When enough pressure is built up, the kernel hull bursts open. The kernel turns inside out. So the soft, starchy granules that were in the inside gelatinize. And when they cool, they form what we think of as the popcorn. The microwave does a great job of heating that water up, turning it into steam, and forming popcorn. And now you know you don't need oil in your popcorn, so let's move on to our next activity. And for this activity, we're going to use two things, well, three. A pitcher full of water and an orange. I'm going to move you in closer so you get a close-up view of this. First, let's talk about it. So to do this activity, we're going to take the orange and drop it in the pitcher of water. Before we do it, I want you to develop a hypothesis of what you think is going to happen. And I say hypothesis instead of guess because you have had experience with things floating and things sinking. So I want you to take your past experience, use that to create your hypothesis. So for all the things you know about what causes something to float or sink in water, I want you to think about what you think the orange is going to do. And if you don't have an idea right now, pause the video and then come back when you have your idea. While you're thinking of what you think is going to happen, I'm going to set this up so we can see what happens. So hopefully you have your hypothesis. And I am just going to take the orange, drop it in the water. We'll see what happens. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. So obviously the orange is floating. If I try to push it down, it keeps rising back up. So was that what you thought it would happen, or was that something different than you thought would happen? If that was what you thought, congratulations, you are a super kitchen scientist. We're going to try something else now. We're going to see what happens if we peel the orange. So I'm going to remove the orange from the pitcher. And it's a little wet, so I'm going to dry it off. And I am going to peel the orange. And because I like using tools, I'm going to use a spoon to help me do that. And if nothing else, the spoon helped me break into it so I didn't have to get orange peel under my fingers or under my fingernails. Now I know that they sell citrus peelers, but I always like to use multitaskers. So if I can do the same thing with a tool I already have, I like to do that. And obviously with the spoon, I can do that pretty much as well as with an orange or citrus peeler. There's a lot of peel on this orange. So it is officially peeled. I'm going to clear up the peel. I'm going to quick wash my fingers, and we will be back to see how that works. So again, now is a very good time to come up with your hypothesis. Is the orange going to sink when we put it in the water without its peel on, or is it going to float? Let's find out. 3, 2, 1. And it sank. And it did not just sink partway. It sank all the way down. So an item's ability to float in a liquid is its buoyancy. And an object in a fluid, like water, is buoyed up by a force equal to the weight of the fluid that's displaced by the object. So when you put something in water, or as you know, if you go into water, you sit down or the item goes in and the water comes up around it. So when the orange was placed in the water, gravity is pulling it down, while the buoyant forces are pushing it up. Gravity pulls downward with a force equal to the weight of the orange. Buoyant forces push upward with a force equal to the weight of the water that was displaced by the orange. So as long as the orange displaces as much or more water than the weight of the orange, it's going to float. The peel of the orange does a couple things. First, it helps displace the water. And it helps to displace enough water to make the orange float. The peel also contains air pockets, which make it less dense, which also helps it float by contributing to the buoyancy. When we remove the peel, the orange doesn't displace enough water to equal or to overcome the gravitational force pulling it downward. And so then it sinks. And there you have it. 2 kitchen experiments. One, we learned about popcorn, how it pops, and why you can make it in the microwave without oil. And 2, we learned about buoyancy and how things float. And so now I am going to have a snack of oranges and popcorn. Thank you so much for joining me for the exploration into STEM, and I hope that you enjoy whatever you do. Thank you.